Hey, why your team fails you? There's a lot of reasons, but this is a key starting point that I want to share with you. And let me tell you a quick story in beginning with this. And this is part one in a series because there's a lot packed in here. Why your team fails you. During the lockdown in 2020, I was really excited because I was getting access to people I likely would not have, building friendships, business relationships with people that I definitely never thought I could have at the time. And there was one person that was in particular that was well known, superstar in the business world, and a very sought after person, big media personality. And we, as part of being involved with this person's community at the time, because I had a chance to get to know this person, and I'll just leave it at that. Somebody had been attempting to reach me and on Facebook, and I did not respond immediately to their Facebook post and subsequent Facebook message, which is my habit, which is my process. It's how I work. People that work with me know that. And this was someone that was new. We were on a team working on something with this person, and so this person that had connected us, brought us together, just absolutely ripped into me in public, in a very public way, in media. Okay. And did this because the other person had complained that I was not being responsive. I was ignoring team members. I was not a good project partner. I was not a good project man. It's just really, this person had a long list of things based on our 15 minutes of interaction and non-interaction. And I was just taken aback. I was hurt. I was angry. I was justifiably resentful, which is, for me, I have to be careful with that, right? They didn't want to lash out. So in private, I reached out to this person and said, hey, this is not acceptable. I do not do this. I know that you do not operate this way either. I can't believe that you would attack me in public like that over something that someone else said because you believe this person without ever asking me about this. This is unacceptable. I don't work this way. I made the point that no high performers, and I'm not claiming to be like one of the uber high performers, bear with me. And I made the point, I go, look, no high performers I have ever met are available 24/7, 365 on demand. Could you please correct me if I'm wrong on that? And I just, really went to a point of going, look, I can't believe that you treated me this way. I will not tolerate this in our working relationship, in our friendship. And I didn't hear anything back. This was in private, okay? Didn't hear anything back. The person that had introduced us, that made the connection with this superstar for me, who in their own right is very, very well known in business circles. Also high media footprint, well known. Reached out to me and is like, I can't believe you did that. This person's willing to talk to you. I didn't think this person would ever speak to you again and would just automatically block you out of that person's whole network of connections. So imagine it, right? I said, you know what? If that's the price, that's fine, because this is not, here's what happened. This is not acceptable. I'm not going to put up with it. I'm not going to have somebody bashing me in the media that has the ability to just absolutely crush me, crush my colleagues and friends because they have such a big media footprint, right? And so we had a conversation. This person said, okay, we talked it through, got on a live virtual meeting with this other person, and we talked it through, didn't damage the relationships long term, continued to work together for a couple of years, continued to be part of that person's community. And we're still connected to this day. Here's the point for the story. I didn't make it clear to everybody on that team how I operate and what the expectations are. Now, this does not excuse the other person for being totally on full tilt. Not the person who got in the middle of the argument, but the person who was completely bent out of shape because I didn't respond immediately. And I mean, like within 15 minutes of a Facebook post, and then demanded that I reorganize my entire life around the way this person expected me to communicate, which was just not going to happen. So I was looking at what can I do differently, right? Does not release that person of anything that they did I was looking what as a leader, right? As a leader, what can I do differently? What am I learning from this? And there was a powerful lesson in going, I can be much more clear with new team members, new business partners, colleagues, when we're doing joint ventures, whatever it may be, on making it clear, here's how I operate. This is the way to work with me. This is how I communicate. This is what I do. This is what I don't do. To this day, I don't have any social media loaded on my phone. I don't carry it around. Someone reaches out to me on Facebook, I won't find it until whenever next time I decide to sit down and log on Facebook, which is only once or twice a day. At most, sometimes it's a couple days in between, with the exception of live feeds like this, live streams like this. And but to put that together, look, here's expectations, so that would be clear to also encourage the other people on the team that were working on this project together, to that this is how I operate. So then we could have had a conversation. It may have been that the rest of the team said, look, here's how we need to, for this that we're working on here, here's how we need to communicate. Maybe we set up a Slack channel or Telegram, something that I could pipe in and say, hey, you know what? Here's when I'll be available. Still not going to be available 24/7, 365 on demand. Sorry. But it would have allowed for negotiation and clarity, right? Would have that clarity, which could have avoided the drama that ensued with the following, with the miscommunications that followed up. I was glad I didn't do something that I would have done the old, back in the past, young, immature, and experienced version of me, which would have been to wade dip deep into the argument with the superstar that was coming down on me publicly in media, and just attacked right back. Right, David and Goliath. All right, here, hold my coffee. I'll play. Not the appropriate way to handle it. So I was much happier. I was proud of going, you know what? I did like, in terms of learning from that experience, I did like how I responded in terms of keeping it private, going, hey, I'm not happy about this. So I communicated that privately, not publicly. If other people do it differently, I can't control that. But for what I learned as a leader, so this is my question to you. How are you making it clear to your direct reports, to your key clients that you work with, the key relationships that you have, business and social, how to best work with you, how you operate, what your cycle is, what's the best way to communicate? If something is a true emergency, how does someone get in touch with you? And by the way, what constitutes an emergency? Different people have different thoughts on what constitutes an emergency. To me, an emergency is something that's requiring a run to the emergency room. It's that level of problem. Or the house is on fire. I have gotten phone calls like that. Hey, need you to come home. The house is on fire. When I was working an event, not the phone call when I have. Story for another time. But my wife and I know how to get in touch with each other, and we prioritize our communications, and everybody that we work with knows that. It's like, if I'm in a meeting, the only person that can interrupt that meeting is my wife or someone else that has a 911 that's tied to things that are going on with wife and family, right? But and I let people know. Now, are there times when we make different arrangements? Of course. But having that clarity makes it possible for people to go, hey, I need to request an exception, or I can't work with that. Here's why. Then we can both decide, do we make some adjustments, or is this not going to be something that's going to work? Right? The hard answer sometimes is, you know what? This is not going to be a productive working relationship, because we have such different MOs. We have such different requirements, different priorities. I was listening to a comedian, Henry Cho, Korean American from Tennessee, talking about not leaving Tennessee to go work on a movie because they wanted him to go to Australia for 6 weeks. And he's like, nope. Priority is family. Priority is what he's doing in ministry. Priority is what he's doing with his kids' schools team. He says all of these commitments. He's going, no, won't do that. Can't be gone for that long. He still works. He has guardrails on what he says no at times. It's very difficult to say no because it's a great opportunity, can open a lot of doors. The money is really good up front. You ever done that? Man, I tell you, it's a short story. I'll leave you with this because this leads into another topic, another one of the points that will be in a future episode. I had 3 job offers. Some were job offers, some were business opportunities on the table at the same time. And I looked at one and went, this is the best long-term opportunity. Really wasn't the best pay, probably the poorest paying, and would have been the most work up front. Okay. Huge back end opportunity because it would have put me in a position to build relationships with a lot of people in multiple industries. And you know how that works out, right? I've been in that position before and I knew the impact of that, but I needed the money. So I took the job that I least wanted, and it was a job, not a business opportunity. Took that because it was an immediate paycheck, needed the money at the time, and huge mistake. Lots of tears on that. And I'm still living ramifications of making that decision. Now, back to the point here. One of the reasons that your team fails you, they're not really failing you, are they? No, look, you're the leader. When the team's failing, whose responsibility is that? Buck stops here, right? Where I'm leading as a leader, you look at what am I doing? When someone is out of line, when I have 2 people out of line, both publicly trashing me, one in a position where they can do me great harm because they are well known, they're very popular in media, they have a huge media footprint, right? It still comes back to what can I do differently? How do I respond? What can I do differently? And in that case, it was how do I let people that are working with me for the first time know, look, here's how I operate. This is what I consider to be an emergency. This is how you get to me if you need an immediate response, which means it's an emergency. Otherwise, here's the cycle. Here's the different channels. When you use those, here's how it goes. If you are social media pinging me cell phone to cell phone, not going to happen because that's just not. I learned that from Dan Kennedy, right? Dan Kennedy is one of the highest paid copywriters on the planet, and the only way that he's in Ohio, the only way that you can reach him is to send a fax to his executive assistant in Arizona. Gotta love that guy, right? Gotta love that. So I look at it and go, how can I implement that in my life? And how do I let people know that this is how to work with me? So my question to you again is, how do you let your team know from day one? And if you didn't do it day one, do it now. If you did do it day one, review it and see where there may be things that are feeding in to communication problems, misunderstandings, missed goals, and more. Because bad news is it's on you. Good news is, hey, it's on you. So you can make changes that will affect the entire team. You're in the position to have the largest, fastest effect on the team by saying, look, here it is. Here's a summary of how to work with me. And then accept comments back and be open to the conversation. And have that example then be duplicated by the rest of the team. So then they all know how to best work with each other. Because if you don't, that is one of the key ways that you are causing your team to fail, you and your business. Thanks for being part of Wolf's Watch. If you think I'm all wet, I want to hear it in the comments. I love contrary. I can't learn anything if I don't talk with people that have a different perspective. If you have a story to share, put it in the comments. And maybe we can get on a live stream sometime and get that out, have a broader conversation so that others can hear that. People need to hear your experience, just like you need to hear other leaders' experience. So thanks for being part of the Wolf's Watch. Thanks for being part of the conversation. I will see you on the trail. And man, look at this background.